It is now getting to the top of the hour, so we're going to get started. I'd like to welcome everybody, of course, to today's public webinar for accounts payable processing and document management. My name is David Knight, and I'll be one of the speakers for this webinar, along with Craig Hollingham, who is the president of MicroComm Systems, and Kevin MacArthur, who is the vice president of sales for FileHold Systems. Okay, this webinar will consist of three parts. The first part, which I'll be conducting, will be a brief PowerPoint introduction of both ABBYY FlexiCapture and FileHold document management software, and how these two software programs easily integrate together to automate accounts payable processes and procedures. The second part will feature two live high-level demos. In the first demo, Craig will show you how ABBYY FlexiCapture software can quickly and accurately process multiple invoices in various formats. And in the second demo, Kevin will show you how accounts payable documents can be transferred from ABBYY FlexiCapture and stored and managed securely in FileHold's central repository. These documents can then be developed into a workflow and routed to various groups and individuals for review and approval. And the third and final part of this webinar is reserved for any questions that anyone may have about accounts payable processing and document management. You can use our chat function to type your questions, and we'll answer your questions and share them with the rest of the group at the conclusion of the live webinar. So without any further delay, we'll start the intro. Paper documents are a fact of life. Every business has suppliers, and every business has invoices to pay. Industry surveys state that approximately 80% of invoices are on paper, each of which is processed manually and circulated to various departments for approval. The average company pays thousands of dollars a year to process invoices and loses money on late payment fees and missed discounts. Any business can benefit from the elimination of accounts payable paper processes by replacing them with electronic invoice approval and electronic document storage. ABBYY FlexiCapture is an intelligent, accurate, and scalable document capture and data extraction software that helps automate the invoicing process. In the various bulleted points, it eliminates manual data entry, it increases efficiency and reduces costs, it streamlines business processes, it eliminates late payment penalties, captures early payment discounts, and achieves very quick return on investment. ABBYY FlexiCapture is designed for low to high volume automated data capture and is used for various types of documents such as fixed forms here, the one here on your far left. That would be things such as tax returns, questionnaires, surveys, and other applications. Also semi-structured documents such as purchase orders, receipt, invoices, and unstructured documents such as contracts, articles, and letters. With ABBYY FlexiCapture, all scanned documents go through an image enhancement process. The data is extracted, separated, and classified. The captured information can be used for automated indexing and archiving. ABBYY FlexiCapture can extract data from any type of document, including those with complex structures like invoices and other multi-page documents. For example, the following two images are invoices that have been processed by ABBYY FlexiCapture. You'll notice that the layout for both invoices are different from one another. However, ABBYY FlexiCapture is capable of capturing the highlighted information regardless of where it is located on the page. This will be shown and explained in greater detail during the demo. As I mentioned earlier, once these documents are processed, they can be easily exported from ABBYY FlexiCapture and stored securely in FileHold Central Repository. The integration feature, which makes this data transfer possible between ABBYY FlexiCapture and FileHold, is known as the File Scan Bridge. With the help of the File Scan Bridge, All documents can now be transferred from ABBYY FlexiCapture and electronically filed and stored securely in FileHold Central Repository. Once inside the central repository, document workflows can then be easily created and routed to individuals and departments for review and approval. We'll show you this process in greater detail during the actual demo as well. As stated, there are many benefits to utilizing ABBYY FlexiCapture and FileHold together to help improve accounts payable processes. To summarize, with ABBYY FlexiCapture, you can reduce data costs, increase data accuracy, automate invoicing processes, and eliminate late fees or penalties. Well, with FileHold document management software, you can automate invoice processes. Your data is stored in a secure and centralized environment. You can replace paper accounts payable processes with scanning, workflow, storage, and quick retrieval. And this concludes the introduction portion of today's webinar. I'm going to turn things now over to Craig Hollingham, who will take you through the first part of our live demo, which will feature ABBYY FlexiCapture Pro. All right, so Craig, I'm just going to turn things over to you now and make you the presenter here.
All right.
Get that information shortly here. Do you have that information now, Craig? Excuse me.
Yes, is my screen visible to all?
Yeah, absolutely. It's coming in nice and clear here.
All right, well, thank you, David. MicroComm Systems is a Vancouver-based company. We also have an office in Seattle, Washington. We are primarily a document service bureau. We do a lot of scanning and document conversion on behalf of hundreds of clients. We've been doing this in various forms since 1992. We like to think that we're pretty good at what we do. One of the tools that we use and have used since, I guess, 2010 is ABBYY FlexiCapture, amongst actually 2 or 3 other ABBYY products we use. But we use ABBYY FlexiCapture for its ability to pull various data types from scanned images in a very accurate way. We also like the fact that it's very flexible and allows us to key on fields that we previously had to type, and as in anything else anything else that requires labor, anything that you don't have to do with actual human beings, you can save some very real money. And I think that's probably why we're all interested today, is how we can do more work with less resources, or at least the same amount of work with less resources, which generally means you can do more. So having said that, I'll get on with my presentation. Like I said, we have offices in Vancouver and Seattle. We've been around since 1975. We've been doing this particular type of work since 1992. We've been a partner since 2010, and we figure that we have processed in excess of 50 million pages through the ABBYY products that we use. Again, the slide that has already been shown, the general workflow of ABBYY, which is to scan or import, go through the recognition phase, verification, which is a way to use human beings to judge what's been done and make any corrections that are required, and then export, which is to transfer the images and the metadata from ABBYY into whatever the back-end solution is, in this case FileHold, through the file scan bridge. David briefly touched upon the type of documents that we're comfortable with. Obviously, fixed forms, everybody's familiar with those things, surveys, questionnaires, tests, that type of document. Semi-structured, which is what you're going to see in the demo today, invoices, purchase orders, very, very common business documents. And then finally, unstructured, which you won't see today, contracts, letters, things of that nature. How does it work? So ABBYY is a little bit different than other OCR packages. It's based entirely on keyword recognition, which is leveraged to separate documents, in fact, build multi-page documents from loose pages, also to identify data elements of interest in any given form, in our case, invoices. In separating and identifying documents, header fields such as page 1 of 10, logos, that type of thing, are used to signify the beginning of a new document, and footer fields such as page 10 of 10, invoice total, thanks for your business, those common things that denote the end of that particular document. Similarly, key invoice fields such as vendor, date, purchase order, invoice number, amounts, tax fields, things like that that are common to every invoice, are located by the product, and positions surrounding those fields, so to the left, to the right, above and below, are searched for data matching what is expected according to the rules that we set for that field. And it doesn't matter to Abby whether you load color documents. Doesn't matter about the size of the page. It doesn't matter about the font. It can use things such as dictionary sets, databases, or even a common separated value file or a text file for that matter to do data validation against any extractions as well. I wanted to show you a slide that gives you an idea of what goes on under the covers. And if you go to the right of the page, it shows the relation of a key field, in this case invoice number, where we've instructed Abby, once it finds the invoice number field, it's going to look to the right, it's going to look below and above, because we found on this particular document type, that's where it could expect to find that value. So again, any size, color, weight of paper, single, multi-page, doesn't matter. We don't have to use patch code separators or barcodes or anything like that any longer. The product is smart enough to do that document separation or recognition without them. It includes a scan front end, which uses a Twain or ISIS scanner and drivers. But for customers that already have a scanning system, we find a lot of people already do, it can be set up to look for a hot folder locally or on a network and automatically import image files. So if you don't have a scan system and you're interested in starting with one, Abby would suit that situation. If you already have one and you'd rather not rebuild something that's working functionally, it certainly fits into that scenario as well. So multi-page documents are identified and created automatically based on the rules that we establish. Data is extracted using those rules and then validated using another set of rules. Confidence thresholds are established, allowing any client to control how involved knowledge workers will be in verifying and correcting data. And I think this is a very important thing to consider. I'm going to show you in the demo that we have 2 or 3 documents that go through with 0 corrections required. Now, that certainly happens, and there's nothing done with smoke and mirrors here. What you're going to see is the honest results of the product. Even if it was 100% correct, I don't know how many people are going to trust that. I think there's going to be some level of verification involved, even if you hit 100% the first time through. But you'll see what I mean further on. And then at the conclusion of the process, the image files are converted to either TIFF or PDF. We're using PDF today. And metadata is converted to XML to transfer to FileHold through the file scan bridge. Now, in this instance, it's going to be XML, and it's going to go to the file scan bridge. It's an open product. You could make it virtually anything you want in terms of connecting at the back end. Okay, so having said all that, let's get on with the product demo. All right, can everybody see the FlexiCapture Desktop?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to load a subset of sample images that we have. Now, these are images that we obtained from FileHold. These are just accounts payable document they had in their system. So bear with me as I import these documents. Now that I have them on the desktop, I'm going to go through the recognition module where it's going to start doing all of the keyword extraction and looking for the data in the accounts pay, or sorry, invoices, purchase order number, PO number, all that type of thing. And again, this is all desktop horsepower here. I'm using a i5 notebook, so it's a little slower. And again, I'd like to point out that some of these processes are going to occur in a silent way on a server somewhere, and a knowledge worker would only be called on to take action once these batch processes had already finished. But we're almost done here. All right, so you can see the first three documents require no user intervention whatsoever, but because I just want to show you that, I'm going to bring them up and step through the fields one at a time anyway. So these are the fields that we were looking for. The recognition was 100%. All right, so I'm going to skip down to the fourth one, which requires some user intervention. It looks like there's a field that it's not happy with, so I'm going to skip down to that field. It had low confidence on the due date field, but I know it's correct, so I'm just going to clear out of that and go forward here. Now, we have a little bit more work to do on this document. It wasn't comfortable with the date field. Again, it was correct, it just didn't like it. But here's an actual mistake, and we have referred this back to ABBYY. No one can figure out why we're getting low recognition on this particular field. But I wanted to show you because it's not ever going to be perfect. I think we have to, we're looking at this product to help us to reduce our data entry, but it's never going to eliminate it. All right, so I've done the correction there. And I'm going to go through and do it here as well. I've got an extra space here. And then I've got a pipe instead of a 1 here. Oops. Again, low confidence but correct. And low confidence but correct. Now I'm going to go to the export module. Sorry, I've got to highlight. This is where the documents would be exported and the associated metadata would be exported. And this is where the file scan bridge would be invoked to take the documents and metadata into FileHold. And I just wanted to show people what a high-speed scanner looks like if they don't have one in their arsenal at their office. This is how I generated the images that you just saw going through. And that will finish up my part of the presentation. So David, will you be taking the desktop back?
Actually, I'm going to transfer it over now to Kevin MacArthur.
Sorry.
Yeah, not a problem at all. So Kevin's going to take the controls here and go into his demo, of course, on the FileHold side of things.
All right. My hand is on the steering wheel. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. And David, am I coming through clear for you? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Your audio is perfect.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Craig. I appreciate it. So yeah, what I'll do now is, first of all, thanks everybody for coming to our webinar today. My name is Kevin MacArthur, and I'm here today to talk to you about FileHold's centralized repository and how we manage the accounts payable process. We offer an enterprise-grade software at an affordable cost to companies around the world, but do keep in mind that we're not just limited to AP. What you're about to see is a tool set that can be used across an organization, but today's focus is to look at the AP process. Just some quick background information on me. I've been in document management now for 12 years. And I've had my hands on a lot of these AP-centric type process applications. I've seen many, many of them. And a lot of them are magical. They're also very expensive, complicated to set up, require a lot of maintenance and overhead. What we put together today and what we're showing you has been designed to be simple to implement, but also very affordable and offer the return on investment that you should expect from something like this. So that's why we've put our forces together to show you what we have today. FileHold is powerful, it's completely scalable, and it has one of the shortest learning curves of any document management application out there. In fact, you already know how to use it. It's very intuitive and simple, and it's been designed against software that you've already seen. So what I want to do now is jump over to my virtual machine, and I want to put up just a quick slide just to clarify the transition of how these two softwares talk to each other. As Craig mentioned, it's very hard to show a behind-the-scenes service or an export happening. So we've done our best here to kind of show you what's happened. The invoices that were processed and read, the data that was extracted from those invoices, walks across what we call the file scan bridge. The file scan bridge is nothing more than a connector that ties the two systems together so that we can take the information that's been automatically taken from the documents and extracted, pushed into FileHold, and giving you meaningful information that you can search on from your desktop application or from the web browser access in FileHold. So again, it's very hard to see, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how the two are mated together, and the file scan bridge is the key connection point that gets the data into the system. So now that you know that, I'm going to take you into the system itself. And there's a couple ways to do this. I've got an icon that takes me in directly. I have a second icon that would take me under the hood to do any administrative work, things like that. I have a little stack of papers down here that allows me to sign in. If I log out, I can automatically log in from here. I can log in through Active Directory. But once I get into the system, this is what we always refer to as the front door of FileHold. This is what you would first see when you logged in. And hopefully the first impression it's making on you is how clean this interface is. This is going to be your central repository, so we don't want the learning curve here to be intimidating or stressful for anybody who takes this on. We've already achieved the automation side, and we've become very efficient, but we don't want to bog down now when we try to find documents and use the system. So you've got some parameters up at the top, nothing technical, just things that you can control, preferences and settings. Maybe you want to be alerted as new invoices come in. We can set those up so that they email you when they arrive. We can set up watch directories and folders and things, but nothing to really concern ourselves with just yet. And then here on the left, you've got a Windows Explorer or file cabinet-like structure that's very similar to Windows, very similar to what your file room is probably looking like today. Within our library, you'll see filing cabinets. Within Accounts Payable Department, you'll see drawers. Within drawers, you'll see folders. Within folders, you may see subfolders. And then ultimately, you get to your files. Now, it's no coincidence here that all of these vendors happen to line up with the exact invoices that Craig processed through FlexiCapture. What we've done here is built the homes and the connection points so that when FileScan Bridge brings them in, this document has arrived, and let's open it up and take a look, and we have extracted the values in the appropriate fields, invoice date, amount, and so on, based on information that FlexiCapture picked up. Now, the way that information is presented in FileHold looks like this. If I hit this little button up here at the top right, you're going to see all those tags. You're going to see the document name itself. In this case, it's an arbitrary number the scanner gave it. If we wanted to, we could have the system rename it for us based on the information that FlexiCapture read. In this case, we've got the vendor, the invoice date, the invoice number, the PO, and the total, and then, of course, the due date. So these elements are what we pulled from QuickScan Pro, and I just wanted you to see kind of the complete thought here, that once those documents were scanned and processed, they were sent and almost magically put into FileHold to be consumed. Now that they're here, and now that you kind of see the structure and the metadata, there's a lot of things you can do with these files, and this is really a testament to how easy FileHold is to learn. Everything you do in this system, there are instructions or intuitive behaviors that will help you. For example, if you wanted to email something, or any of the functions really, if you just hover over a button, the buttons actually tell you what they do. So without ever using this before, you can simply right-click and see menus that will give you choices and options as you go. So very much like Windows, this isn't going to be a stretch for most people who've used any software applications. People can browse, they can hunt and peck to find things. You know, here we drill down. Again, this is very intuitive. It's a lot like Windows Explorer. Once we're here, we can sort by columns if we have multiple documents. We can also set up personalized views so that we can see the information that we want to. In this case, I wanted linked version numbers, checked in status, but maybe I wanted to see the invoice number or the amounts out here. You can simply right-click this interface and customize this to look any way you like. So if you want an account number or amount, something like that, we can set this up the way that you want. Somebody else logs into the system, they want to see things in a different sequence or different order. You've got the ability to customize and do it that way. So very, very simple. Okay, now one of the most important things about this is you've gone through this trouble of setting up FlexiCapture. You've integrated it with FileHold seamlessly, so the documents are coming in. Now you want to find things. Something's going to happen. You've got to pull up an invoice or a PO or some correspondence. How do you ask your questions? And you already know now that you can browse. You can hunt and peck, find what you're looking for in a very intuitive way. Someone who's never done this is going to have no issues here. So maybe I go into the folder, I see Citrix here, and I get to the invoice I want. And I could double-click it, or I could email it out. I could send it as an attachment or a link. All these things are easy. But we also have another search capability that's a bit more efficient. And if you click on this little search button here, or if you ever browse to the top right of the system, you're going to have a search bar that never goes away. So it doesn't matter where you are in the system. If you look to your top right, you're going to have a quick access search bar that's going to behave a lot like Google and have a lot of sophistication behind the scenes. It's not just a pure word search. It actually does quite a bit. So in this case, I'm looking for a vendor. Let's go ahead and do FedEx. And I'm going to hit go. So I hit enter. And the system goes across the entire library and brings me back results. Now, at this point, when I did this search, it doesn't even think or really care about my structure out here. It's not even taken into consideration. It's searching the entire active library for anything that meets that criteria. What's interesting, though, it's doing a bit more than just a word search. The first thing we're doing is we're searching the tags that were put on the file. So if we have a certain client name, let's actually go down to the one we know it is. You can see the vendor's name is FedEx Express Services. So it's searching the attributes or tags that we pulled from FlexiCapture here in FileHold. The second thing it's doing, it's searching for things like the properties. How big is the file? What format is it? Where does it live? Happens to live in FedEx Express Services folder. What version are we on? Who's the owner? Has anybody marked it up or redacted out sensitive information? So all these things that the document has gone through are being tracked as well, and we can search on that as well. Show me everything Kevin added yesterday. And I can show you all the invoices I worked on, even if I called in sick the next day. So you have all your tags and attributes. You have all these properties to search on. And then finally, you have every word of the invoice that's helping you as well. So as we scroll down, you can expect to see the word FedEx lit up in yellow here, letting us know this is yet another reason why it came back in our search. What this means is it becomes very difficult, if not impossible, to misfile an invoice. If you put everything in the wrong folder, classified it the wrong way, we still have every word of every page that's been pulled from FlexiCapture, and you can bring it back even if it was filed incorrectly. The argument is we could take all of your invoices for the last 50 years, throw them in a dumpster, and you could say, show me all the invoices under $300 in the last 3 years for FedEx, and I could hand you all to them in 5 seconds. So that's the kinds of search capabilities that we're talking about because, again, we're leveraging the data that FlexiCapture gave us, FileHold's own properties that we pulled off of the document, and then the content of the document itself makes it very powerful. Now, search goes a bit further because you have all these elements of data. You've got PO, you've got invoice, you've got amounts, and so on. We've got a lot of things that we can do now. Maybe you don't want to just see an invoice. You want to see a little bit more specific. You want to see a specific invoice number or a date or a client name or a status of payment, that kind of thing. You're going to have what's called an advanced search. So if I come over here and I start a search out, and again, I've got kind of a blank template here, I'm going to click on Advanced. And this gives you a nice little string with a drop-down list. This drop-down list are all the document types that you've defined for your organization. Now, I have more than just accounting document types in here. I've got everything. But if you come up here to your AP invoices, you're going to see all the attributes that you require to extract when scanning. So to file an invoice in FileHold, I need the due date, invoice number, date, total, PO, and vendor. So I'm looking for an invoice today. And I could have just typed in their name, but that would have given me a very general path. What I want to do is be more specific. I'm looking for an invoice, and I know who the vendor is. So I'm going to come in here and type the vendor out. If I'm terrible at spelling, which I am, I can go to a list and pull in all of my vendors. Okay. So here are all the ones that we have. Let's pick FedEx again. That's going to give me all the invoices for FedEx, but that's too many. We do tons of business with FedEx. Every day we ship something out. hit the plus sign, and you get a second level of search. And you can come back here and you can say, and I know the date. And that's great. It's going to default to today's date. You could come in here and select a date. Maybe you know it came in on the 8th. If you're like most of us, you don't remember the date. You know roughly when it happened. You'll be able to come in and select windows of time. Wanted something that was before the holidays or after the holidays or greater than Wednesday or less than Thursday. This is the one I like the most. Sometime in the last 30 days, this thing came in. Now I'm searching all month. Hit the plus sign again. You have the category to come in and say, and I know the invoice number or the total. And you can come in here and set up equals or between. I'm looking for all invoices that were between $1 and $499.99. You can ask those kinds of questions within the system. And as you go, you'll see there's a lot of flexibility. Has it been approved yet? Has it been signed off for payment? Who worked on this file? I want a company director to see who's touched it. Has anybody checked it out? Is there a specific document name I should be looking for? And if I scroll all the way down here to the bottom, I even have some special fields like the format of the file. Is it someone's favorite document? Has someone marked it up? Does it have a unique identification number or document or version control number? What folder does it live in? So I'm being a bit redundant here, but this gives you kind of a snapshot of how particular you can be based on the data that you've automatically pulled off of a document. You can now ask some very interesting questions across millions and millions of documents and expect to get results within a few seconds. That's the power of metadata. That's the power of extracting that information and getting it into FileHold. The automation is great. Of course, that saves us a ton of time on the front end getting things loaded in, but then you have just as much ROI, just as much power on the other side when you're doing searches and queries into FileHold. So now the nice thing about this is this may be a job function that you're doing every day. You're going to have some ability to save these templates. Maybe every morning you're looking for new invoices that came in. You can actually set up what's called a save search and create the structure that you want. Maybe I want to take a couple fields off and I just want the vendor name and a date range, and that's something I'm going to use every day of my life until I leave this company. Well, what you do is you save it, and then you can have it in a list here for your invoice searches. If I click this one time, it builds my template for me and runs the query automatically. Now, if I want to make a change and I come up here and I go to FileHold, run the same query, I can do that. If I want to add parameters or take parameters away, you have that ability as well. So tons of capabilities in this search, but every time you touch the template, it goes right back to default, and you've got that ability. Now, you can also customize it a bit further. You can turn off content. Maybe your invoice tags are so clean because they've been verified and validated in FlexiCapture, you don't need to worry about FedEx being mentioned every word of every page of the document. You can turn that off if you want. Maybe after 3 years, your invoices are archived, and they're kept in an archive for 5 years, and then they're ultimately removed. FileHold can manage that entire process front to back, even send you notifications when they happen, but you can choose whether or not you want to search the old invoices or things that are current. Don't bring me back to the latest version. There was an adjustment made. I want to see all iterations of that invoice until I can figure out why there was an adjustment. 10 years ago, we were using another field. I want to search that old field. You've got the ability to do that all from here. So again, just to go through it one more time, you can browse this thing. You can hunt and peck and very intuitively find what you're looking for. You come up here to the top and you can click on search, and you can run a basic search that runs across the entire system, or you can come in and do an advanced search and get very specific about what you're looking for. There's no right or wrong here. You can also do a hybrid of all these things. You could go to a folder and right-click it and search just from that direction. I only want to look in that folder, and that's going to narrow down to that one directory in that one location. If you came in and you typed in a very simple word like FileHold, and lo and behold, you get tons of data, you can begin to filter down as well. You can also, again, customize these columns, so if you want information here, payment date or job number, any of this information can be tracked as well. You can also reorder these areas. You can also export this out to a report. If you wanted to show all the unpaid invoices we have for the week, I could do that right from here without having to go and run a custom report, which you could do as well if you wanted to. Now, the final search piece I want to show you for now exists outside of FileHold altogether. We have a connector called FastFind. What this does is it allows us to integrate with other applications you already own and launch searches from those applications. So in this case, you're going to see Quicken. This is just kind of a demo version of Quicken that I've got here with my invoices, bills, all these kinds of things. And in here, I might have invoice numbers, I have dates, I have amounts, and so on. The point here is if you highlight a word or phrase in your accounting software, in your CRM system, you'll be able to hit a hotkey on your keyboard and link the two together. So in other words, I've selected the name John here. I want to go see if we have any information on John. You won't be able to see me do this, but I'm going to hit Control-D on my keyboard. And you can see now that FileHold comes to the forefront. I didn't have to click on anything else, just Control-D. John's name is now in the search window, and all documents relative to John have shown up for me to look at. Now, that's a basic name. Had we used an account number or an invoice number, it would take us right to that specific file. So this is a way for you to link your existing accounting software, your existing applications into FileHold without programming. It takes us about 90 seconds to build these bridges and to build these links through FastFind. So again, no right or wrong way to do this. Some of you will browse, some of you will use advanced search, some of you will use other systems. All of it is valid. All of it makes sense. Okay, now one of the things that I kind of glossed over when I was talking about search is that one of your search criteria is workflow status, or approval status here. And approval status is broken down by approved, pending approval, not approved, not yet submitted for approval. This is important because as FlexiCapture is pouring documents into FileHold, we can send notifications to your accounting department or to file clerks that these invoices are arriving. Through the file scan bridge, we're going to knock on your door and tell you that these things are ready. But once they're ready, we can actually start a process which puts them on a document lifecycle. What I mean by that is if we go find a document, let's go to our trusty FedEx again. And if I find an invoice here, and this document is just sitting here, it's now been brought in, and maybe it sent an email through our preferences and settings. We sent an alert to somebody who's responsible for making sure that invoices get paid. So what will happen is we can actually right-click that document, go down to a workflow option, and we have two templates to choose from. Now you could have more than this if you wanted to. This is just meant to be simple for the demo today. I'm going to initiate an accounts payable process for anything under $500 or initiate accounts payable process for anything over $500. This is a great place. It would be very handy to see what the amount was out here in your element. So that may be one thing you do to customize it. But if I'm going to initiate this process, I'll click on under 500. And what you're going to see appear is a template. And this template is going to actually give instructions. We're going to write explicit instructions, or this is going to be a process that's already been defined, and in most cases they are. In accounts payable, these processes are locked down. They need to go and be reviewed, make sure that goods were received, and then get things sent for payment. So what I do is I can write out the description of the workflow. I can have this document travel under the radar. Only the participants in workflow can see this document until it's done. Then it will surface for the rest of us. I can have notifications come to me well in advance of a due date or a deadline, so that even though I'm not in the workflow, I'm going to make sure we don't go overboard. We don't lose track of our due date. I can also set up what are called observers. These are the rest of us. We're not necessarily in the workflow, but we're making sure that they get done. This is our department. We want to make sure things are handled, and we want a daily summary or a weekly summary of invoices that are paid. Then you come in and you set up either a review step or an approval step. You set your reviewer, you give them a due date, and you run in your instructions. This says refer to the purchase order issue for validation. The second one I've done is, again, by me. I'm the only person in FileHold today. I've got 1 day to ensure that goods and services have been received. Scroll down a bit further. We verify payment terms and conditions, and then finally approve for payment. So you're going to have control over these tasks. And this could be something that's an ad hoc process that you thought up today. This could be something that's locked down and will be stayed exactly the same for the next 10 years. Once this is done, we hit OK, and this workflow begins its life. What I mean by that is it's actually going to burst out a notification to the first person in line who's supposed to take action. Or in the case of multiple reviewers, all 10 of us are going to get a notification that this document needs to be reviewed. That notification is going to be delivered 2 ways, one by email and one inside of FileHold in an area called Review and Approvals. Now you'll notice here that it says My Tasks, and it's lit in dark black. What that means here is that 6 new objects have come in, and I've got to take care of some projects here. So there are 2 invoices here. This one's under 500. This one's also under 500. And as I scroll over, I can see what version we're on, the name of the workflow template. Has it been delegated by someone else? What am I supposed to do? Who started it? When was it assigned? When it was due? What's the progress? And where are we at? And then finally, linked documents. Any related documents that might help me, like a shipping label or like a PO or correspondence, we can actually have that at a click away. So all that you have to do to see the corresponding information is to click that link and see all of the supporting documentation. So back over here, odds are I would open this up, and I just can do that by simply double-clicking. I can see this is a maintenance invoice, and I can scroll in here, get all the information I need, and verify that it looks good. And then I'm going to right-click and go to my workflow. Now you can see the menu has changed. It now says Submit Review, View Sign-Off Sheet, View Review and Approval History, and also I can cancel the workflow if I found a glaring mistake. So today I'm going to submit my review. I have the chance to put in comments if I like. I can also browse out to a copy of the PO maybe, or to that packing slip, and place it into that document so they travel together. So let's go down here. Make sure I've got something in here. And we've now moved that along its way. The very next thing we have here is an approval process, which is very similar, except for now I submit my approval. I can still put in comments, but I also have to authenticate that I am who I say I am. I'm not allowed to verify or approve this for payment until I've confirmed that I am the department head or I'm the manager that's going to allow this to happen. So we actually type in our password to let this advance to the next stage. Once that's done, the notification is sent, the payment can be made, and all this has been tracked. Now, as managers, you're going to have a dashboard that you can come into and look at and find out where we're at in particular processes. So this invoice is 50% done through its life cycle. This one's 75% done. I can break these down. I can see who's participated already. I can see attachments that they've provided. There's the PO. Goods have arrived. What's going on here? Why hasn't Kevin signed off on it yet? Well, he called in sick. He's got the flu like everyone else. So he's going to delegate this to David to help him out. Or we're going to add a step so we can get more time to verify what we need. So you're going to have the ability to kind of quarterback from here and see what's going on. And here you can see that the approval is the final step, and we've got our terms set. Everything is ready to go. So this gives you a dashboard of where we're at any given point in time. So again, this can be simple. This can be linear. This can be ad hoc and complex, just depending on what you're trying to do. But this will give you some basic idea. Now, one of the unique things about our workflow in FileHold is that this does not require you to have a programming or computer degree to set up. In fact, by the second day of owning our system, you'll be able to build these workflows on your own with very little assistance. So it is intuitive but very powerful from here. Okay, so next I want to touch on something that I said in the inbox. Remember we had talked about linking. Over here at the very end, I have some supporting documentation for this presentation. I click on this number 2, and here's some information that's going to help me make my decision on this workflow. This is important because a lot of times you're not going to have invoices living next to POs, living next to correspondence. You may have it broken apart, as I've done here. It's not a requirement. You don't have to. But you can see the way I built my structure is we have checks, correspondence, invoices, POs, and so on. You would break everything down. But sometimes it makes sense to link documents together. So it's a very simple process. If you come in here and you type in FileHold as your vendor, and you decide that this data sheet, this invoice, this correspondence, and this PO are related. They're all related to the same product, the same purchase of software we just made. You can either right-click or come up to the top here and click this linking button. By doing so, you select the most important document in the list, or a parent for the children. Once you've made that connection, forevermore, if you ever find one of these documents, you will find its relatives. Here's a data sheet. I want to find a PO related to that. We were talking about the data sheet when you initially called me, but now you're asking me if payment's been received. I can click on the 11 here and go right to this directory and show you supporting documentation. The nice thing about doing it this way is that you're not spending time hunting and narrowing down all the time with advanced search. It also puts things that are relevant together without them having to live in two places or live in the same place. The other cool thing is that in this link column, they can have families of their own. So you dug a little deeper and you got to a copy of the PO. Well, if I have this 11, it takes me another layer down, and we can find even more supporting information. Maybe it's less relevant to the overall invoice, but still important for the phone call that I'm on right now. So linking is important. This is a good way to build relationships. Of course, search will bring things together, and you can ask the kinds of questions that you need. Now, another neat thing that goes on is if you have to send information out for whatever reason, maybe it's a check, maybe it's correspondence. I'm going to go back to really stuck on FedEx today. I'm going to go back to this invoice here, and I'm going to right-click it. And instead of double-clicking it or hitting Open in Adobe, I'm going to open it up in FileHold's viewer. This is an optional viewer that we have, and I'm going to actually undock it to make it a little bit bigger so you can see. I've got to send someone a copy of this, but it's got account numbers on it. It has sensitive information that I can't have floating around on the internet. They really just want to see the address, or they want to see proof that it was taken care of. They don't need to see the account number. So we're going to redact the document. Now there's a couple ways to do it. The way we're all pretty used to is I can grab a little highlighting pen, black something out. FileHold will actually allow you to put in a reason code. The reason you redacted it is for the Privacy Act or SEC compliance or HIPAA, court order, or other. You can put whatever you want. This is customizable. So we can actually redact it manually. This is not new. This is something you've seen before. What is interesting is there are other options. We can actually set up a template that will go through and automatically take out account numbers, credit cards, passports, military locations, addresses. You can actually customize a hit list that will go through an 1,000-page document and redact out every time it finds that instance. Thanks to the work that FlexiCapture's done, and thanks to the processing that FileHold has done, you'll be able to redact out account numbers in one shot rather than spend the rest of your afternoon with a black marker going page by page. Now, one of the easiest things to do is to come over here with this little magnifying glass and hit Find and Redact. So if I come in here and type in FedEx and I hit Redact, it's going to process the entire document. I could have set the color if I wanted to. I could have put a reason code. But notice here, whoops, that every time you saw FedEx here, it got hit in black. So just another thing we can do to try to secure documents if they have to leave the organization. You also have the ability to encrypt documents, send them out, and require passwords to be put on. 256-bit encryption. If someone tries to print an invoice you sent them, or a PO, or correspondence, or if they try to do a screenshot of those types of documents, the image will disintegrate and be destroyed. So there's some options here to keep things even more secure than they are today. Of course, you should know that we set security every step of the way anyway. If I'm not in accounts payable, I do a search for an invoice, I'll find nothing. If somebody in accounting does it, they'll find what they're allowed to see. So that's all part of the deal here. Now, all these tasks and reminders, retention policies, workflows are going to come at you via email if you like. They're also going to come to you via calendar. The calendar is going to tell you if anything is running late. If we go back to October here, I had some tasks that were running late. I've got reminders that I wanted to be aware of. So you can actually set up alerts and reminders on individual documents and also folders. If someone makes a change to a document you care about or works on an invoice that is yours, you can be notified in real time. In fact, we give you preferences and settings that will allow you to be alerted immediately when something happens, or once a week if something happens, if something is changed or deleted or moved. All that can be handled from here. We also have a full audit trail on the back end of FileHold. And if I come over here to our administration module, let me log back in here. I think I was idle for too long. There we go. You're going to see a document usage log that talks about everything we've done in the system, from emailing to looking at something to printing something, viewing, is all here down to the second. So here's the invoice that we were looking at, the links that we made. We looked at it at this time. This is a non-editable, non-modifiable audit log, so you'd be able to track and see when things were done and by whom. You can also set up full custom reports on things that are done. These can be any report that you want. Any data that we report on in FileHold can be created through SQL reporting services. You can do them yourself, or our professional services team can do it. It's all part of the possibilities. So we skipped over, as you can imagine, a ton of features. I tried to pull out the ones that I thought would be relevant to today. But this is a very powerful system, very comprehensive search. We have some more automation features for things that are not invoices, that are not being processed through FlexiCapture. A very simple, easy system to implement. It's not uncommon for you to be up and running within a few days of purchasing these two systems together. What I think we'll do now is I'm going to put up this last slide that has our contact information. I'm going to leave this up for a few minutes. We are going to open it up for questions now, so any questions that you have, please fire when ready.